Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nataya and this is Nesthetics, where I talk about topics that I care about and you should care about too if you choose. Today we are breaking down and analyzing the 7 Days of Kwanzaa Proud Family episode. If you don't know what the Proud Family is, the Proud Family is an animated series that aired on Disney Channel from 2001 to 2005. It centers around Penny Proud, her family, and her life and her friends. And they had this episode called the 7 Days of Kwanzaa, which is season 1 episode 11. This video is going to be a part of the throwback series that I have on my channel. So the throwback series is basically I take movies, television series, etc. from Black and other people of color creators, and I break them down and analyze them and talk about the importance and meaning of them. You can find the throwback series playlist in the description box, and it will also be probably at the end of this video or in the cards above. So I want to do this video because right now we are in the midst of Kwanzaa, and my Proud Family video where I talked about colorism in the Proud Family is actually one of my most popular videos to date. So I want to make another Proud Family video since it seems like it's popular on my channel. So if you don't know how like throwback series videos go, usually I break down the entire episode, so I go step by step through the entire episode. So if you have never seen it, that's okay, because we're gonna go through all of it and I break down each part of the episode. So let's get into it. So the episode starts off with Penny and her family. So there's Oscar, who's her dad, Trudy, who's her mother, Sugar Mama, who's her grandmother, and then they also have, she has twin brother and sister, BB and Cece. So they're out getting Christmas presents for the holiday season, and they end up seeing this homeless family that's holding up this sign that says, "We're the reason for the season, give what you can." So Oscar, he doesn't want to give this homeless family any money. But Trudy was like, give them some money, like, come on, like, it's the holiday season, like, just give them some money. So Oscar turns around to give them some money, and the family disappears. So Oscar and Penny end up going to the homeless shelter, which is just not far away, so they're able to walk. They walk to the homeless shelter so that they can go find this homeless family and give them some money. And along the way, Oscar has like this little fishing rod with a dollar attached to it. So there's other people in the streets around Christmas time. You know, around holiday season, some people are like outside of grocery stores and they have their little bells, and then they have like a little bucket, different organizations for you to like donate money. So there was people like that and kids outside like with a bucket like asking for money, and Oscar would basically like turn the fishing rod with the dollar on it, and the dollar would go inside their cup, and then he would turn it back and the dollar would come right back to him. So basically he was acting like he was giving out money, but he actually wasn't giving out money. He was being very selfish. It's like, if you not gonna give money, then just don't give money. Don't act like you giving money, putting the dollar in and then taking it right back. Like, you giving these people false hope, Oscar. So in this time, we see how selfish Oscar is, and that's something that we're gonna pay attention to in this episode, because we're gonna see how this does change or doesn't change throughout this episode. But you can see that Oscar, he's very selfish in his ways. He doesn't want to give back. He just wants to worry about himself, worry about his own family. And I think this also like signifies that like around the holiday season, it's not a happy time for everyone, because you know, everyone is always saying like the holiday season around this time of the year is the best time of the year. But in reality, there are still a lot of people who are homeless during this time of the year, people who don't have family during this time of the year. So it's really not the happiest time of the year for everyone. And I like how this episode is highlighting that, you know, this isn't the happiest time of the year for everyone, and there are people out there without homes and without families. So now moving on, Oscar and Penny, they make it to the homeless shelter and they're looking for the family. They find the family there, and Penny invites them to Christmas dinner the next day. Oscar was like, we not inviting them to Christmas dinner. And then Penny was like, come on, like, let's just invite them. And Oscar was like, okay, we'll invite them to Christmas. So Penny invites them to Christmas dinner for the next day, and she tells them where they live at so that they can, you know, be there on time, all of that. And then the next day we see it's Christmas. Everyone in the Proud family is running to under the Christmas tree to open their presents. And in this scene we just see how like centered the Proud family is on gift receiving, and how Christmas is just about gifts for them. Because Oscar, as everyone else is like unwrapping presents under the tree, Oscar is like, this is what Christmas is all about. So for them, you know, Christmas means something different to everyone. But for them, the Proud family, they're seeing that Christmas is about giving people gifts, spoiling them with gifts, and receiving gifts. And for me personally, I think that Christmas is more of a time for rest, and also to spend time with loved ones, because a lot of the time, you know, this is the time that people are off from work, people get to rest, and it's not just about giving gifts and receiving gifts. That is nice around Christmas time, but that to me is not what Christmas should be all about. And then also, if you are religious or you're Christian, you know, Christmas means something different to you as well. So we see like where the Proud family's values lie right now in this scene, and how their values are in material things and not anything outside of that. I think that the way that they are celebrating Christmas is very selfish. Again, as I was saying, Oscar is selfish, because nothing material can replace your family. It cannot replace your friends. It cannot replace time spent with your loved ones. So to celebrate Christmas and center it around material things shows that you value material things over things like family. And this is what we see with the Proud family right now. So the homeless family shows up. They show up early. They're supposed to come for dinner, but they show up early. Oscar's like, y'all here like 3-4 hours early. Like, what are y'all doing here? So Oscar was like so mean to the homeless family like at the beginning of this episode, but we'll see how he changes or doesn't changes by the end of this episode. So Oscar, he lets them in, you know, and they bring fruitcake. And the father of the homeless family, his name is Joseph, he says he brought the fruitcake because fruitcake is good for the soul. And Uncle Bobby, who is another person, a part of the Proud family, he ends up kicking the fruitcake out of the window and into the yard, and it sinks into the yard because they didn't want the fruitcake. I think that the homeless family, or Joseph saying that the fruitcake is good for the soul, is alluding to how this family is more centered and focused on the spiritual than the physical. So we're already seeing how the Proud family and this homeless family, they never gave name, like a family name to this homeless family, but the Proud family and the homeless family, we can already see how they have different values. We can already see that the Proud family is focused on material things and physical, whereas this homeless family is more focused on spiritual and things that feed your soul. So when Joseph said the fruitcake is good for your soul, he was trying to bring something to the Proud family that would better their spiritual health and not just their physical health. Because they could have, I mean, the family is homeless, so most likely they wouldn't have given them like a materialistic gift. But even if they weren't homeless, I could see that they wouldn't bring them a gift that would just satisfy their physical needs, but bringing them something that satisfies their spiritual needs. So Uncle Bobby, like I said, kicked the fruitcake out into the front yard, which will have significance at the end of this episode, so we'll go back to that later. So the Prouds, they end up giving the homeless family presents, and they're just kind of looking at the presents like, okay. And then Trudy was like, is something wrong with the presents? And they're like, well, we don't celebrate Christmas, you know. So the father, Joseph, says that we got tired of buying into corporate America's end of the year profit scam. So this quote by Joseph from the homeless family is emphasizing like how capitalistic Christmas is, because Christmas is a time where business and corporation is trying to make the most profit out of all of us consumers. So I like how this homeless family is like very intellectual. They're looking at Christmas as a capitalistic holiday and not a holiday that has a lot of like real values, because some people, you know, like religious community, they see a value in Christmas that is different from this materialistic value, but that is not how the Proud family is celebrating Christmas. So the homeless family, they're just like, yeah, Christmas is capitalist and we don't want to celebrate it, so we're not celebrating it. So the daughter of the homeless family, she goes with Penny to go meet with her friends. So, you know, Penny got 3-4 friends. Wait, hold on. She got Dejanay, Sticky, La Cienega, and Zoe. She got 4 friends. So Penny brings Stephanie to go meet her friends, and her friends are just like, they're not clowning Stephanie, and Stephanie is the daughter in the homeless family, but they're not clowning Stephanie, but they're definitely like looking at her weird, like, why are you here? Like, you don't belong here. So Dejanay asked Stephanie, like, are your jeans guess or guess what? And like Dejanay threw so much shade at Stephanie for not having designer clothes. Stephanie was like, I'm not really into designer clothes, I'm into reading books, that's what I like to do. And Dejanay was like, why would you read books when you can just watch cartoons at home? And again, we see a difference in values. Like, I can't stand, because this is how the black community is, like, no matter what you have on, like, people in the black community will be looking you up and down trying to see if you have on something designer or if it's fake. And it's like, why are y'all so adamant about calling people out even if they do have on something fake, or even if they do have on designer? Why does it matter, and why is it your business? Like, Dejanay saying, are your jeans guess or guess what? Like, that was so shady. And it's like, you don't have to have material things or designer clothes in order to be significant. Like, it doesn't matter. So I didn't like how Dejanay was throwing so much shade at Stephanie. And then also she was saying, like, you can watch cartoons instead of reading books. And this aired in like 2001, 2002, and the same as today. Like, children, like, the values that society and parents are instilling in children is like further and further from intellectual values. Like, reading a book is so much more beneficial than watching cartoons all day. With tech consistently evolving, kids and children are not finding as much value in reading books. They want to be on their tablet, they want to watch TV, they want to do everything except for read. So again, going back to values, we see that Penny's friends, their values are completely different compared to Stephanie's values. And the fact that like the Proud family has these values and Penny's friends has these values, I feel like this episode is showing that the majority of society also has these materialistic values in material things versus things that actually have real meaning, like intellectual values, reading books, and spiritual values, spending time with family. So I feel like this is continuing to show us how different the values of the majority of society are versus a small, I guess, percentage of people in the world. And I think it's interesting that this family is homeless, and even though they are homeless, they have still instilled such good values into their daughter, and their family has instilled so many good values. So it's interesting that like this family is homeless, yet their values are so much greater than what their homelessness is. So Penny and her friends asked Stephanie, does she dislike being homeless, or is she tired of being homeless? Does she wish she had her own room? And Stephanie said it's better to be a family in the streets than strangers in a home. And her parents taught her It's what's on the inside that counts. And then Dejanay responds and says, yeah, what's inside your pockets? And then everybody starts laughing. So Stephanie responds and she says, money is useful, but it's not everything. So right here in this scene, like, I like the quote, it's better to be a family in the streets than strangers in a home. Because there's a lot of people out here, you know, who have rich, wealthy families. They will give their kids and spoil their kids with anything materialistic. They will have a big house, yet they won't be a family. Like, toys, material things, they cannot supplement spending time with your children. Like, it's okay to get your children gifts, but if you do not spend time with them, if you do not talk to them, then that means nothing. Like, people can have all the money in the world, all the material things in the world, families can, and they will be strangers in their own homes because they allow the material things to supplement their family time and spending time with each other. And also the next quote, she said that, yeah, money is useful, but it's not everything. And we hear this all the time. Like, we hear so many quotes about money. We hear that money doesn't bring happiness, and that is very true. Like, money is very useful. It's very good to have money. It's satisfying to have money. It's comfortable to have money, but it is not everything. There are some things that I think are better than money. And as you can see, Stephanie, she believes that her being able to spend so much time with her mom and dad and them instilling those values into her is more valuable than any money that she could have. So, you know, for some people, they believe that. I personally would never want to be homeless and would never believe that being homeless is better than having money. But I like how Stephanie, she's able to have such a positive attitude and be homeless at the same time, and just, I don't know, she just has a very positive attitude. At the end of the day, gifts are meaningful, but they cannot replace meaningful connections. And I feel like a lot of families, they allow material things to come in between their connections with their children or connections with the people in their family. Like, sometimes somebody might not even want a gift. They just want to spend time with you. So to me, experiences are so much more valuable than gifts, or just as well, I wouldn't say equally valuable for me, but like, experiences and spending time with loved ones is so much more valuable to me than just receiving a gift every year. So Penny's friends, they leave, and Dejanay calls Stephanie beloved. She was like, yeah, Penny, you can come hang out with us when you get rid of beloved. And if I never realized this, because I just saw the movie Beloved like last year, or actually this year, sometime this year, I watched the movie Beloved. But Beloved is a movie and a book. It's a book by Toni Morrison, and it was adapted into a movie with Oprah Winfrey. And the movie is about this spirit named Beloved that comes and haunts the family. Beloved, she represents 3 generations of slavery, and she comes back and haunts the family of Oprah Winfrey. And she's just a very like abnormal like character and spirit. And I think it's interesting that Dejanay called Stephanie beloved, because beloved was a spirit, and we'll get into like this homeless family and their connection to the spiritual world at the end of this. And also Stephanie was very abnormal, just like beloved was. But beloved and Stephanie, if you've ever seen the movie or read the book, are totally different. They're both, you know, abnormal, but they are not the same. So the next scene, we're back at the Proud family house, and Oscar and Uncle Bobby, they're trying to build this swing set for the twins, who are BB and Cece, the little children. And Joseph, who's a part of the homeless family, who's the father, he tells them that he used to be a construction worker and he can help. So he ends up building the play swing pin for them, and he does it very well. So after they put it together, the twins don't even play with the play swing. They end up playing with a box that's in the living room. And Oscar's like, I put all this work and this money into building this play swing, and y'all gonna play with a box that was already here. And Joseph points that out, and he's like, the toy isn't important, like spending time with your kids is important. And that's exactly what I said earlier about families allowing material things to get in between connections with their children. And if you think about it, kids easily entertain themselves. They are very, very imaginative, very creative. Like if you think about keys, kids love like the jiggle jaggle of keys, even though it's not like safe for them to have keys because, or real keys, because you know they'll probably put it in their mouth, stuff like that. But kids, like, they don't need like big things. Because they're so creative, they can entertain themselves with little things, with like a box that BB and CC were playing with. So I think that it's interesting that families think that they have to give children such extravagant gifts when children really don't need that much, in my opinion. They don't need that much to feel loved, to feel entertained, or to be able to have fun. So then Joseph tells Oscar, you have a nice home, nice things, but what does this all mean? So again, we're going into like materialism and how, like, you know, you have all this stuff, but really, like, what does it mean to have all these things? Is it really worth anything if you don't have like any other values outside of material things? So then we go into the kitchen, and the wife of this homeless family, Margaret, she's helping Trudy and Sugar Mama dry off dishes. And Trudy and Sugar Mama, they're inquiring, and they're like, don't you feel like tired of being homeless? Do you miss like having a home? And Margaret was like, no, I feel liberated not having a home. And she says to Trudy, I got tired of things taking over. And last, Margaret says, you don't own this home owns you. So Trudy was like, nah, I'm not attached to my things. And Sugar Mama purposely like drops like 2 of her dishes and her plates, and Trudy like was like, oh my gosh, not my good china. And Sugar Mama was like, oh, I thought you wasn't attached. You said you wasn't attached. And I think that there is a way that we can value the things that we have and not be attached to them. Because like for me, like if any of my stuff were to, anything were to happen to like my material things that I personally value, like my camera, my laptop, things like that, I would be sad because those things cost a lot of money. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm attached to them. I feel like you can admire the things that you have. You can admire your home, admire your car, admire the things that you really like without being attached to them. But there's nothing wrong with like feeling that if one of those things breaks or you need to get them replaced, like feeling sad or feeling emotional over those things, because you know, money just don't grow on trees. These things are expensive. So I think that people do easily get attached to their things, but there is a way, and I feel like there is a medium between being attached and just admiring your things. I feel like admiring your things, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, Margaret says she feels liberated not having a home. I personally would not feel liberated not having a home. I think owning less is liberating, but being homeless and choosing to be homeless is not liberating for me. But you know, people might have different opinions about that, but that's just me. So before the homeless family leaves, the Proud family's like, y'all didn't eat anything while y'all were here. And the family's like, well, we're vegan, so that's why we didn't eat anything. And I feel like this family is just like, all of their values, like they're vegan. They try to make sure they take care of everything that's on the inside. So they're really showing that like their body is their temple and their body is their home. They're trying to make sure they take care of their soul, take care of the inside of their bodies, make sure they're eating right. So I found it interesting that this family, they're vegan too. Like, wow, this family is just everything. And this just shows that their values are attached to things that are on the inside and not things that are in the physical realm. So then we go to the next day, and the family comes over to celebrate Kwanzaa with the Proud family. And Oscar was like, what are y'all doing here? Yesterday was Christmas, that was it, and now y'all here again. And they were like, oh, you invited us into your home, so we want to invite you into our spiritual home and celebrate Kwanzaa with you. And Penny was like, oh, are gifts involved in this? And they were like, no gifts are involved in Kwanzaa. So you can already see, like, Penny, they just worried about gifts and material things, as we keep seeing throughout this episode. So they come over to celebrate Kwanzaa. They set up the Kwanzaa table in the kitchen. And then they start off with the first principle of Kwanzaa, which is umoja. So the episode doesn't explain what Kwanzaa is, so I'm just going to say a little brief thing about what Kwanzaa is and how it started. So Kwanzaa is an African American and Pan-African holiday which celebrates family, community, and culture. It was created in 1966 by Dr. Mulana Koringa, a professor of Africana Studies. Kwanzaa, a 7-day cultural festival, begins December 26th and ends January 1st. It joins communitarian values and practices of continental African and African American culture. During the holiday, families and communities organize activities around the 7 principles: umoja, kujikagali, oh, I can never pronounce this one, kujikagalia, ujima, ujama, nia, kumba, and imani. So that's basically what Kwanzaa is in a nutshell, and it's based around those 7 principles and really instilling those 7 principles into ourselves and into the Black community, the entire diaspora, not just the Black community in the United States, but the Black community, the entire Black community across the diaspora, from Brazil to Nigeria to Venezuela, because there's literally Black people on every corner of this earth. So that's what Kwanzaa is, and they start with the first principle, celebrating umoja. Oscar is like, I'm not trying to celebrate this holiday right now. I really don't care about what y'all doing. I'm trying to watch the game. So we can see that Oscar is still stuck in his ways, his selfish ways, as we've been seeing since the beginning of this episode. So then the family returns on the 2nd day of Kwanzaa. Oscar was like, y'all are here again? Like, I thought we celebrated Kwanzaa yesterday. And the homeless family's like, no, Kwanzaa is a 7-day celebration. Oscar was like, okay, okay. So they go on and they start celebrating the 2nd day, and eventually Oscar comes around. By like the 4th day of Kwanzaa, he's starting to get into it, and we start seeing how the Proud family is starting to incorporate each principle every day into their everyday lives. And we even see Oscar, he like goes out and he gives back to the community, the same people that we saw like him giving and taking $1 back from in the beginning. He goes out and actually gives them money. So we start to see, as they're celebrating Kwanzaa, their family values and they are shifting, and like their attitudes are shifting. So after the 7-day Kwanzaa celebration, the family leaves, the homeless family leaves in a taxi. And the last thing that Joseph, the father, leaves Oscar with is, a man who has faith has everything. So then Felix, Oscar's friend, ends up coming to the Proud house, and Felix, he needs a foreman for a construction job. And Joseph, as we know, was a former construction worker, and Oscar was like, oh, I can go get him and he can, work for you, because he's homeless, he needs a job. So the Proud family ends up going to the homeless shelter looking for Joseph, Stephanie, and Margaret, the same family. And the lady there, she's just like, there is no family here that fits that description. And then all of a sudden we see this other family come out by the same names, but they are completely different, like a completely different family. So basically the homeless family impersonated another homeless family, and this homeless family that they were impersonating, it was like the same, had the same names, Joseph, Margaret, Stephanie. They all had the same like job titles. Joseph used to be a construction worker, his wife used to be a teacher. So Oscar gives this family, Joseph gives him the name and number to Felix so that he can contact him for this construction job. And they were just like, the Proud family was just like, why would somebody impersonate a family? And I think Trudy was like, maybe they came to give us a little faith. So then at the end of the episode, the Proud family is reflecting on how they are more in tune with their heritage and their values now that they've come in contact with this family and that they've celebrated Kwanzaa. They go home and it's this big old tree in their front yard, and the tree grew out of that fruit cake that Uncle Bobby kicked into the front yard that we saw earlier. So this big old tree, and it's like really beautiful, and that homeless family that like celebrated Kwanzaa with the Proud family is at the top of the tree, and they're waving and they're in their like traditional garments, and then they walk off into the sun. So clearly, like, that's the end of the episode. So clearly, like, this family came like in spiritual, well, they're a spiritual family, but they came in physical form to the Proud family to teach them a lesson, to teach them to change their values. So in this episode as a whole, we just see how values shift. We see how the Proud family, they really valued material things in the beginning, and they did not care about these principles of Kwanzaa. So the family just really comes and instills these 7 principles and values into the Proud family and makes them realize that, like, Christmas and the holiday season is not just about us. It's not just about receiving or giving gifts. It's not just about material things. There are so many other values that we need to appreciate and instill into ourselves. So I feel like it's so interesting how this family came into their lives to teach them a lesson. And I think it's interesting that the last thing that the family said to them is that if you have faith, you have it, like anything. And I think that is true, that faith is a very important value to have. And I think it's interesting how they really put an emphasis on how important faith is. I'm sure to the homeless family, like, faith is really important, or was important to them, because like they're having faith that they're going to get out of this situation. So I don't know, I really like this episode as a whole, and I think this Kwanzaa episode is very important, and I feel like more black people should celebrate Kwanzaa. I don't know how many black people, like, worldwide or just in America celebrate Kwanzaa right now, but I don't know anyone who celebrates Kwanzaa, and I hang around majority black people, you know, so I don't know anyone who celebrates Kwanzaa, but I feel like the black community should embrace and celebrate Kwanzaa more often, because these values, unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, faith, purpose, there's one more I'm missing, like, these values are so important to our community, and if we really instilled these values into our community consistently, the black community would be unstoppable. Like, we would be unstoppable. But I feel like everybody is just not on the same page in the black community. We don't all want to follow these principles and values and don't find them important. Just as the Proud family, they originally didn't care about anything outside of material things. And I feel like in the black community, we can be very materialistic, and I made a video about that, breaking down an Atlanta episode called FUBU. And we are so materialistic in our community that we allow that to overshadow other values. So until the black community can really, like, value things outside of materialism and things outside of selfishness, because we saw how selfish Oscar was in this episode, until the black community can stop being selfish, then that's when we'll be able to instill these principles into ourselves, into our communities, to better our community. But until then, the black community gonna stay stagnant and gonna stay where it's at. But that's all I have for this video. I know this was a long one, so if you made it to the end, thank you for watching this far. Let me know your thoughts about Kwanzaa. Do you know anybody who celebrates Kwanzaa? Do you feel like more black people in our community should celebrate Kwanzaa? Let me know your thoughts about this episode and this video in the comments below, and I will see y'all in my next one. Bye.